People who built their whole relationship off of a lie. How did that work out for you? When I first met my girlfriend Gia, she asked within 5 minutes if I understood Chinese. I panicked and for some reason said no, even though I'd literally lived in Beijing for 3 years and spoke fluently. But before I could correct myself, she looked relieved. Perfect. My last boyfriend was Chinese and he'd get way too involved in my family drama. I need someone who can just smile and nod at dinners. I gulped, smiled, and nodded. By the end of that date, I decided I'd keep the lie going and cross that bridge when I got to it. But then came my first family dinner. Her grandmother looked at me and said in Mandarin, "This one looks like he sells phone cases at a mall kiosk." Her mother responded, "At least phone case boys have ambition. This one looks like he gave up." Gia squeezed my hand and whispered, "They're saying you have kind eyes." On the drive home, I almost told her. The words were right there. But then she said, "I'm so glad you can't understand them. They can be so embarrassing." And I thought, maybe she's protecting me. Maybe she's embarrassed by them. Maybe if I just wait it out, they'll warm up. They did not warm up. Her uncle called me the human participation trophy. Her aunt asked if my parents were professionally disappointed in me. Her grandfather once spent an entire dinner explaining to Gia why my face was geometrically unfortunate. Every single time, Gia would listen, sometimes laugh, then turn to me with some fake translation. "They love your shirt. Granddad wants your workout routine." Meanwhile, Granddad had literally just told me his friends in the ground have more muscle than me. The worst was how she'd whisper back to them quickly, and I couldn't tell if she was defending me or piling on. I replayed those whispers constantly. One night after a brutal dinner, I almost broke. Her mother had spent 20 minutes explaining why Gia should leave me before she wasted her good years. And I was lying in bed that night staring at the ceiling when Gia curled up next to me and said, "I wish you could understand them. You'd see how much they actually like you." I said nothing. I just stared at the ceiling with a clenched jaw until she fell asleep. Then it happened. Gia found my old journal while cleaning out a closet. It was entirely in Mandarin from when I was writing poems to learn the language. "What is this?" she asked, her face going white. "My roommate's," I quickly said. "He left it when he moved out." "Your roommate wrote poetry?" He was emotional. Her eyes narrowed, but she let it go. At least I thought so. Soon, the tests began. She'd play Mandarin pop songs during dinner, watching my face for recognition. She'd leave Chinese newspapers on the coffee table to see if my eyes tracked the headlines. She asked me to try reading a fortune cookie slip out loud. I pronounced it like a drunk tourist. "Interesting," she said. I realized she wasn't just suspicious, she was terrified. If I understood Mandarin, it meant I'd heard everything. Every insult from her family. Every fake translation she'd fed me. The investigation escalated. She found Mandarin in my browser's language settings. Must have clicked something by accident. She discovered I'd liked a Chinese restaurant's post that was captioned entirely in Mandarin. I liked the picture of the dumplings. She noticed my Netflix algorithm suggested Chinese dramas. It knows I eat a lot of takeout. One night, her mother insulted my shoes at dinner, and my jaw tightened for half a second. "Foot cramp," I said. Gia stared at me for a long time after that. She didn't believe me, but she couldn't prove anything. Then came the trip to meet my parents. We drove 6 hours to my hometown. Everything was going perfectly. My parents loved Gia. Gia loved my parents. We were sitting at dinner when Gia mentioned she wished I could understand her family better. "Oh, but he should be able to," Mom said brightly. "He lived in Beijing for 3 years. We visited him all the time. His Mandarin is rusty," Dad shouted over her, knocking over his water glass. "His Mandarin is very rusty. He barely remembers a word." Mom looked confused. "What? No, he was fluent. He used to translate for us when we visited him in Maine," Dad yelled. "When we visited him in Maine. Lots of Chinese restaurants there. He would read the menus, just the menus." Mom stared at Dad like he'd lost his mind. "What are you talking about? He won that translation competition," and Dad kicked her under the table and Mom went silent. The room went quiet. I stared at my plate. Gia stared at me, then at my mother, then back at me. Translation competition? I had nothing. My mother had just blown 3 years of perfect cover in under 30 seconds. Gia's face cycled through about 15 emotions. Confusion, realization, horror. She was replaying every dinner, every insult, every fake translation. How long? The whole time. She didn't say another word for the rest of dinner, or the 6-hour drive home. When we pulled into our apartment complex, she finally spoke. "I told my grandmother you could never satisfy me in bed anyway." She got out of the car, slammed the door, and I never saw her again.